No collusion. Goes from a defiant mantra to a rallying cry for Trump's re-election. President Trump's defiant mantra "You know collusion, you" became a rallying cry for his re-election Sunday after the Justice Department said there was no evidence that his campaign conspired with Russia during the 2016 election. The 4-page summary of Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller's investigation removes one of the darkest clouds hovering over the Trump presidency, even though it reached no conclusion about whether he obstructed justice. Aides described, "There was no collusion with Russia, the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard," Trump said underneath the wing of Air Force One as he prepared to return to Washington from a weekend at Mar-a-Lago. The findings were an unmistakable political victory for Trump. They support his law. The extent of his victory could be tempered, though, if Democrats succeed in their push for Mueller's complete report to be released and the documents reveal questionable behavior by the president. Democrats may. Nonetheless, a feeling of euphoria swept over the White House staff Sunday as aides celebrated the end of the Mueller investigation, according to a senior White House official, who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe internal discussions. For nearly 2 years, the Mueller probe had been a source of great anxiety and stress in the halls of the West Wing. Some staffers, what they do is they clear the deck for there to be an evaluation based upon his record as president, said former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, a Trump ally, who called it a very good day for the president. It lifts a cloud that, within an hour of learning the findings, Trump called for an investigation of his critics and cast himself as a victim. Aides say, "Trump, hopefully, somebody is going to be looking at the other side," Trump said, describing the Mueller investigation as an illegal takedown that failed. "It's a shame that our country had to go through this," Trump said. To be honest, White House aides and Trump allies moved quickly to take advantage of the moment. Campaign official, Republican National Committee officials issued a long set of fact-checking points that delineated the cost of the probe, $50,230 per day for 675 days, in their calculation, and attacked the news media and Democrats for extensively focusing on the investigation. Aides and Trump allies said they believe the findings will bolster the credibility of the president, who traffics in untruths and conspiracy theories, while also undermining Democrats, some of whom have predicted that Trump would be found guilty of conspiring with the Russians and obstructing Mueller's investigation. One former White House official said the Democrats have just handed the Trump campaign the greatest election issue in modern political history, on a silver platter. Douglas Brinkley, a presidential historian at Rice University, said Trump actually kind of has inoculation now against other charges against him because he was able to prove his innocence here. It allows Donald. The Mueller probe led to guilty pleas or charges against a number of the president's top aides, including his former campaign manager and national security advisor. A number of Trump. On the matter of obstruction, Mueller stopped short of clearing Trump, saying that while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it does not exonerate him. A variety of other criminal investigations still hover over the president. His company, his inaugural committee and some of his allies remain under scrutiny by state and federal investigators, including in the Southern District of New York. "There is always peril there," Christie said. "I've always thought that, in Washington, Democrats plan to make the abuse of power a focus of their investigations going forward," several Democratic aides said, looking for incidents where the president or his administration hurt working-class Americans or where the president behaved outside the norms of the presidency. The ongoing investigations that have just started with a democratically controlled House will reach a fever pitch now that the special prosecutor has not been able to deliver the political goods as they wanted, said Republican Mark Meadows. Trump was buoyant all weekend that the investigation was over, golfing with Kid Rock and South Carolina Republican senior Lindsey Graham. He was briefed on the findings by his legal team just before he left his Florida resort and immediately told aides that he wanted to speak. "All weekend. This is very good," Trump responded after hearing from his lawyers, according to White House spokesman Hogan Gidley. Gidley said those who know Trump best say he was most furious that the probe detracted from his political instincts and felt under siege from critics who would never accept him as a legitimate president. It's never going to end, he would say, according to a former senior administration official. Trump took particular pride that he never sat for an interview, essentially winning a showdown with the special counsel's office, which received only one round of written answers from the president, advisors said. I think how Trump is going to portray this is that the establishment took a shot at him and missed, said John Thierry, a former Republican leadership aide. Democrats are going to have a hard time not looking really partisan now, and that's to their detriment. An ebullient Trump went into the cockpit of Air Force One for the landing Sunday night to celebrate with his pilot, who was retiring after the flight, a White House official said. When he came back to the White House, he declined to take questions but briefly stopped on the South Lawn. I just want to tell
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot bar. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.